Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Very warm welcome from my side. My name is Lena. I'm part of the SAP Community team, and I welcome you to our SAP Community Call today with our Global Head of Enterprise Adoption, Eva Zauke, on making the intelligent enterprise a working reality by focusing on adoption. Very current topic, and I'm very happy that we have our session today. We already started a little bit chatting where we're from. I would like to encourage you all to share your SAP community profile link. Let's use the chat for chatting between us. Eva is going to present to you half an hour, and we have plenty of time towards the end of the session for Q&A. And now I hand over to Eva. Eva, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Lena. Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're joining today. Very pleased to be here with you today. Actually, since I'm heading the SAP Enterprise Adoption team, and this is almost for 8 months, I'm still amazed how powerful our solutions are, and I'm really amazed to discover on a daily basis how we are helping customers to adopt the intelligent enterprise. So let me give you one example. Last Friday, I called a colleague in Asia, and there was a point in the conversation where he shared an example of a customer, a global high-tech company out of APJ, which runs in 196 countries in a single SAP system. This company runs 152 currencies. It's about 3 to 4 billion transactions per year, and it's growing with the workloads by 30 to 40% in a year. And it applies more than 1,000 legal changes per year, and all this with zero downtime. And I hear about these exciting examples almost every day. I'm Eva Zauke. I'm heading the SAP Enterprise Adoption team here at SAP, and my job today is actually to show you how we at SAP Enterprise Adoption are turning the intelligent enterprise into a working reality. And to be a working reality, it obviously has to do more than just span the company's processes. It needs to span also the global and local footprint, as every customer is operating in a country or in multiple countries, and it also has to span its entire workforce. So here is the usual disclaimer, but you're certainly very well aware of that. So the topics I will be talking today is how we are making here the intelligent enterprise a working reality while driving adoption. I will deeper dive a little bit into globalization services and talk about how customers are successful in a local country as well how they are successful globally. Obviously, when customers are moving into the intelligent enterprise, adopting technologies, adopting business processes, capitalizing on the innovation, there should be also a focus on the employee, so the people focus here. And here, the belief is that enabled people make a digital transformation a success. As we also assume responsibility for sports and entertainment, I will also take a little bit of time to talk you through how we are supporting teams here and our customers to be successful in the area. And from an overarching perspective, I will also conclude with some customer examples, customer journeys, how customers are taking advantage of SAP solutions by focusing on adoption. So when we look at the intelligent enterprise, and you're certainly very familiar with that, so it has been introduced by SAP to show our vision, how all these pieces play together. When we talk the business processes, we talk the technology, so we see here the hyperscalers complemented by SAP infrastructures, business technology platform, then complemented by the intelligent suite paired with the vertical solutions in the industry, complemented by sustainability management and experience management, all that's surrounded by a business network, which is actually 3 networks here, the Ariba network, the asset intelligence network, and the logistics business network. And with the recent acquisition of Signavio, we're going also really strong in the direction of business process intelligence. But what are the benefits customers are realizing out of that? Actually, it's profitability, sustainability, and as well resiliency. So looking at adoption, and here you see in the sense of adoption, meaning that an organization is embracing SAP solutions to take and realize the respective desired business outcomes. And the high adoption focus for customer is actually has the highest impact on value. So here adoption does really matter for customers to take advantage of the SAP solution. Also, the business processes they are introducing. And this is actually pretty obvious because when you are investing as a company into business processes, into technologies, you think about the future of your company, adoption, so really embracing the SAP solution, taking this into a, let's say, real life in the company, gives the companies an edge in implementation and a success here with the focus on adoption. Talking a little bit about globalization, localization, what does it mean? Actually, it continues to be both an opportunity and a challenge. Just think about Brexit. It kept us busy for multi-years to see the negotiations between the United Kingdom and the European Union. And finally, at the end of last year, there was an agreement taken. But this is only one relevant happening and one relevant event to be here applicable to the respective business processes. In general, see that the trends are going towards globalization, so global taxes, e-government volumes, and also the topic of e-invoicing is growing very quickly. So we see a growing demand, a growing market opportunity, a growing customer demand to digitalize processes, digitalize their interactions with the government, but also here in the sense of taxes. I talked about Brexit already. So evolving regulations. What does it now mean to a supplier, to a carrier, to people working here and there, but also fulfilling legal mandates and also being able as a global company with many subsidiaries in countries to report on these regulations. And also when you start in a country and want to expand your business as a customer, adding countries, adding locations, you want to also scale globally with harmonized processes across the countries your company is covering. Looking, and this is a little bit of a slide, which is pretty busy, and this is for good reasons, because what you see here is that evolving global regulations need attention. So there are tax solutions, there are tax requirements, there are document requirements, there are compliance requirements. You take social insurance, you take the VAT, you take the GST, you take the e-invoicing, you in different countries, you take the X-Rechnung, Brexit, I talked already, you take payroll requirements, you take electronic invoicing requirements, you take again in e-invoicing, and there is really a growing number of requirements coming from a legal perspective where companies operating in these countries have to adhere to. And here with SAP, also when we talk about the last year, so in 2020, we delivered more than 1,270 legal changes. And there was a huge amount after that was obviously related to COVID-19, because with COVID-19, there were many regulations issued on payroll, on training, on regulations with taxes and all of that to overcome also the situations from a country perspective. When we talk in general about globalization and localization, you see here some impressive numbers. So there are more than 440,000 customers, and they operate in more than 180 countries in the language of choice as well. There are more than 200 million users worldwide. And there is also a strong partner play here with more than 22,000 partners operating in 140 countries. And when we are talking localization portfolio, what does it mean? It first means localization in some areas of business. So it's finance, spend management, human resources, customer experience. It's also that customers not only are getting and receiving software in a localized version of the business process applicable to a country, but that are also offerings from SAP with documented reporting compliance, which are enabling customers to oversee their global business across many countries. There is also a standard for internationalization and obviously also the coverage in languages. How are we delivering to customers? And especially here for people joining out of the community. Actually, it's delivered in the form of software. So software in a local version, but also it's built in and here off the shelf. There are options for partners to configure and for customers as well, and also to extend SAP's offering to the needs of customers in a dedicated country. We were talking the intelligent enterprise already, and it spans obviously end-to-end processes. So here we also are providing solutions to allow customers to operate along the defined business processes. And we are repeating this many times. You heard this in multiple calls here in the community, the 4 very famous processes out of the intelligent enterprise. But also I want to spell out the sustainability reporting, which also is undergoing a very intense, let's say, regulatory environment where governments are also putting towards companies regulations they have to adhere to. So when talking the way forward, so where are we now heading and what is here on our list of priorities? When we take different areas here along finance, human resources spend, and some global initiatives. You see here that we want to continue on our very successful path across all regions to provide really up-to-date accounting processes which generate audit-proof financial statements across and along the company's global footprint. So there are regulations in countries where we are operating and customers are operating where we are evolving here, but it's really the goal to provide robust accounting processes to customers wherever they operate. When we talk document reporting compliance, actually it's about automation, mainly automation, in the communication of the company with the government, with the tax authorities, that the business documents in an electronic way are submitted in line with legal mandates. So customers are safe and secure and the exchange, so to speak, of the documents with the authorities. Human resources here, it's about the global workforce, which should be paid correctly, obviously, based on complex local regulations in over 99 countries. I was myself actually testing here the payroll for Germany, and I can tell you when you are looking at your, after you experience how complex this is, because obviously the paycheck and the elements on the payroll for myself are totally different than for any other person, because we have different combinations. Some have a company car, some not, some are renouncing meals, some are taking advantage of some programs out of the company. So there are really different regulations, not only for a person, but also for a country. And here the payroll calculation is really of utmost complexity we provide for our customers. Then also in the area of spend management, that employees can run global discretionary expense claiming as a non-event. Non-event means really easy to go with a low hurdle and low entry barrier. And here around across different countries. When we, for example, talk about video capture in China, that's also integrated here with the social media, so the WeChat and the TikTok, that employees can submit their expenses, well, actually just by taking a picture and then submitting via the integration of WeChat towards Concur here in that case. I talked about sustainability already, but there is the responsible design and production reporting, which is providing transparency of all the regulations and also then, let's say, adjusted to the needs of the respective company operating in a country. So to sum it up, on globalization and localization, on the one hand side, it's enablement, enables the company really to adhere to legal mandates. And this is, you have seen the amounts of regulations evolving. Brexit was one of them, but there are many, many. Actually, governments are very creative on issuing new latest regulations, and obviously customers rely on the availability of the regulation within the SAP software to adhere here to the legal mandates. So here, in that sense, we are providing customers with peace of mind. On the other side, when you see and observe the different trends and you see the regulations evolving, it's also an aspect of building resiliency, because you want to, as a company, operate along your business processes locally and globally, in whatever country you are, multiple countries, obviously, and this should be then leading to a sustainable business practice. Obviously, also with e-invoicing, e-government solutions, we are automating repetitive tasks and business to government interactions. And then companies can think about the investment into other areas and taking advantage out of the automation. Moving towards the enabled people who make the digital company or the digital transformation a success for a company. Let me first talk a little bit about the trends and also the environment we are operating. On the one hand side, 87% of companies are facing skill gaps. So when they are applying new technologies, they are introducing new processes, they have as well trained their employees to be successful in the role. So here they are experiencing in the next 5 years, 87%, there will be a skill gap they have to cover. On the other side, lack of skills and knowledge is the top one, priority one, significant barrier to succeeding in digital transformation. On the other side, when you take the user perspective and the employee perspective, when they have learned, when they are enabled, they are by 15% more satisfied with the work they do. And by, on average, when you take S4HANA, SuccessFactors, Ariba, some line of business applications, they are by 50% more successful. And this is really, when you think it through, pretty obvious, because people, when they are working, think of a payroll person working with the payroll and the latest version of a payroll in SuccessFactors. When they are enabled, when they will know what to do, they are more targeted and work with new software, and with that, you also more successful and more effective. When we look at the learning and enablement, how this has evolved, actually it underwent and is undergoing a significant transformation. And I would also say that COVID-19 has actually fueled this in a certain way and actually accelerated respective trends. So what companies are expecting? They are expecting that when they use new software versions or new products, that there is also a fast onboarding of the people in the company along the business processes and along the value chain. There's also the expectation of an accelerated time to value, that they are capitalizing on the investments very quickly. We are talking the empowered user along the life cycle of applications, empowered user, empowered employee, also thinking about the enablement, taking advantage of the offering, but also seeing the opportunities to learn more and also being offered the right amount of enablement in the, let's say, context and language of choice, but also the content of choice. Also, when companies are investing, they require really to see the productivity and the adoption out of their investment so that their users are really satisfied here. It's also, when you think companies in their life cycle, they start with the business processes, but then evolving towards a comprehensive management of knowledge, towards change management, that also solutions are supporting along the life cycle, and also how companies are evolving. And also what customers want and need is the ability to standardize, to also reach high amount of people with the same offering. And also this here leads to the new ways of corporate learning, the empowered user, the empowered employee leading their own enablement, learning, the enablement where actually being offered where the user is. So within the application, within the context of work, targeted to the need. And here also taking the advantage of not only as the software is evolving and we have a constant, let's say, inflow of innovation, but also that customers are adopting this in a continuous way along the innovation cycle and wherever they are and whatever time is. When we are looking here, what we are offering as SAP, and this is pretty powerful, and I want to walk you through here the different ways we are offering enablement and also the consumption patterns of our customers. So why and what are they consuming? On the one hand side, you see this, that the enablement is embedded in the SAP software. So you take all major products of SAP, you click on the question mark in the above right corner of the software, and then all of the enablement is visible to you, to the user. You have the context-sensitive help, you have the guided tours, you have the what's new, that you know what's new in a release from a functionality perspective, and also the learning tutorials. This is all embedded in the SAP software, and it's coming with the software customers have purchased. Then it's also about customers when they are thinking that what is their specific need. Obviously, there is a standard content pre-built and pre-delivered by SAP, but customers are actually asking for more. And what they are asking are mainly two things. The one thing is they want to extend the content provided by SAP with their own flavor. So think about a company having specific regulations, specific procedures, specific learning material they want to provide in the context of the work to their users working with the SAP application. Here they can create and make the learning material as an extension available to the users as well. The other use cases here where companies are thinking about enablement, whatever topic. So soft skills, change management, how to present, how to also take advantage of, for example, mindfulness in times of COVID-19, how to work from home with regards to Zoom and whatever tools companies are using, Teams and others available here. So companies can create tutorials, whatever topic, and also make them available to their people to make them successful. But there is also now with the notion of the business process intelligence, the need to document and learn about the business processes as such. And here we are also having integration, not only with Signavio, but also with ARIS, where we can allowing customers can take advantage that they can document the business processes also with regards to their specific company needs, checklists, tutorials, procedures, where they see also the documentation of the business process embedded here with the business process as such. And there is obviously a strong partner play. So it is also important to SAP to scale with partners. So when you think about a partner of SAP implementing and running a project at customer side, we have here with a partner managed cloud an offering where a partner subscribes, so to speak, to a partner managed cloud, runs a project at the customer, creates enablement material for the customer, and then the customer is able to take advantage out of the material provided by the partner in the context of knowledge and the context of change management. Also, when we are talking here language, and I'm just thinking about a demo I have seen recently where there were two people in a support context. So there was a customer, and the customer was speaking Spanish. And obviously here there was a support person in support, the person was speaking English. And you have while they are talking to each other, one speaks Spanish, the other speaks English, the conversation, the support call, so to speak, is translated in real time. That the one leaves or stays in his language of choice and the other is able to answer and they have a good conversation. On the other side, also when you pair here the learning material, enablement material, you want to really make this available to people in the local language. We know companies are global enterprises. Many of them are actually 80% of our SAP customers and 86% in S/4HANA Public Cloud are global customers or global companies operating in multiple countries. So they want to also make the material available to people in the local language. And here you have a pretty nice integration of a translation capability to translate effective text for enablement into the language of choice the customer wants to have here, also making this available to the respective users and employees. Let me wrap up the user enablement here, also to talk a little bit about the roadmap. So it's about the product Enable Now, which we are using and customers are using to create all the learning material, to extend the learning material, and also partners are taking advantage. So we are expanding on the coverage of SAP products. We are also expanding in the coverage of languages across the intelligent enterprise. For us, also community does matter. And not only having a discussion here today, but also to offer the community the possibility to create content and also co-create, so to speak, here with the tools. So here we are moving very successfully on our path to enable developers as well as consultants to create help content and share with other developers. Obviously, when we look at experience management, we are interested in the conversation and the feedback of our, let's say, consumers. So we want to also close the feedback loop here, also learn a little bit more about consumption patterns and have more targeted enablement material for customers, and also seeing here the evolution on our partner strategy. I will now come to the sports area very briefly. So what are we doing there? Actually, we have a couple of solutions which are interesting for different customer segments. So think about a customer who is operating an arena and wants and offers concerts and sports events. So here we have a solution where customers can offer tickets, sales tickets, but also here food and beverages or whatever merchandising to their customers. You would think, well, normally in COVID-19 times, this is now getting, as we are moving slightly out of the pandemic a little bit, that this gets more interest, but also specifically here, event ticketing, we at SAP are using this to schedule our vaccination appointments. So a ticket for a concert could also be a ticket for a vaccination appointment. We are using this here at SAP, as multiple customers are doing as well. Another way of looking at sports and entertainment is actually the player performance, the individual performance as a player in a team, as well as the tactics and strategy of the team as such. And here we are really front-running the digitalization of the sports performance. So it's not only coordinating all administrative work along the life cycle with scouting, with talent management, but also really looking very deeply into the individual data of a player and providing here to the player, but also to the trainer, insights about the player fitness, the health, and also out of that deriving performance, and here optimize also, let's say, the role they are playing in a team. There is also a very nice and comprehensive information and also the possibilities to simulate for teams based on match insights. So teams are getting the information about a match, which one has happened, and can then analyze and do scenarios and really comment in a certain way, prepare tactics for the next, but also analyze the match as such. And yeah, when we are looking at the European Soccer Championship, there are a couple of teams taking advantage to do a lessons learned after they were succeeding or not succeeding that much, not relating to a specific team here in the context of sports management. How is it looking like? So you see here a screenshot out of the Sports One solution, which has also won a couple of design awards. It's pretty intuitive to handle. It's pretty intuitive to analyze the parts of the soccer game or whatever game here is in place, and also think about the respective tactics and how players have evolved in the course of time. So it's a little bit also on the history here we can provide to the customers. Moving towards a customer journey. And for us here, it's also important always to outline value. So what is the value we are creating? And we were talking about resiliency, and now recapping a little bit what we talked about globalization, localization. It's obviously here providing peace of mind to customers because they can relate very well with regards to the regulations that when they adhere to the legal standards issued and available, there is also giving them possibility to be resilient, but also taking the area of quality management. We are here driving at SAP. It's also when you have software in a good quality, it's also giving resiliency to our customers. Performance, actually, we are talking here value creation in different streams. On the one hand side, it's about performance in a very literal sense. So software has to be performant as customers are adding workloads and expanding with the number of users, number of sites to be covered. On the other side, it's also about the performance of an individual. When SAP user is working with the software and we can support the user knowing where he or she needs support, more targeted information, we're also working here and supporting the performance of the individual employee. And when we are automating tasks and really are digitalizing moving towards e-invoicing and all these, let's say, digitalized processes to exchange taxes with the governments, to exchange documents with the governments. It gives here the company the, let's say, the lever to take the efficiency gains into other investments. Sustainability, you're normally thinking, or all of us are thinking about, the climate impact, the carbon footprint. We are taking here at SAP Enterprise Adoption a little bit of another spin to that. So we are thinking about the resource of an employee also in a way to contribute to sustainability. So if companies are working and supporting their users and employees to be successful, they are acting in a sustainable way. Obviously, this is also about regulations in sustainability area, where governments are issuing regulations and companies have to adhere to. And sustainability here at SAP, to just give you one example, we are also responsible for the shuttle service here across the buildings and across the different sites we are operating. And when the shuttles are now with battery power, we are also contributing here to sustainability and reducing the carbon footprint. When we now take perspective of a customer journey, how a typical customer journey with SAP Enterprise Adoption would look like. And think about a customer who is operating in a very dynamic environment. So there are regulations, there are many new taxes, new regulations coming out of the government. The customer wants to expand from a country to multiple countries. The customer is facing a skill shortage and wants to retain also talent and build up new talent. And so how is this journey evolving from a customer side? Let's first talk about localization. So the customer is operating in a single country. They want to also expand on exchanging data between the business they are operating and government authorities. So according also to comply here to local regulations. Then it's about when the customer is growing towards multiple sites, multiple countries. It's about empowering the customer to succeed locally as well as globally, and also automation of repetitive tasks, payroll, and the interactions with the government. Customers are operating towards multi-country operations, so we are ensuring they are successful there as well. They have a global workforce, which is paid in a country. So also here meeting the needs of a global workforce while operating in a single country, and meet users where they are. And they are sometimes on social media where they want to file an expense report, so integrating with that as well. Talking about the users, we see the following patterns here. So normally customers are starting with the standard enablement along a defined business process, along a value chain in the language of choice. Then they are evolving towards more targeted material, targeted enablement of the respective user, but also of the respective employee in the enterprise. Then it's about business insight and insights to measure, improve, and also provide enablement along the life cycle of a business process, along the life cycle of a software. And then customers are scaling towards a holistic culture of knowledge and supporting change management wherever change occurs, on the business side, on the organizational side, on adding new, let's say, countries, bringing new employees into, let's say, production. So here we also see a growth pattern for customers. Let me share some customer examples with you. So you take, for example, the HSBC, so a multinational bank here. They had transformed the HR journey with standardization of the HR processes in different countries here beside their, let's say, home countries as well. We talk here a very complex tax regulation. So this is about Brazil. And this is really complex, as you have to really file your taxes based on the suppliers you have, based where these different material elements for your product have been produced. So here we supported the customer, and the customer achieved a 63% efficiency gain for the fiscal department. We obviously have customers in the sports and entertainment area, improving the performance of the respective players and being successful here, taking advantage of the solution, analyzing the performance here. Taking customers who are, on the one hand side, transforming digital in the learning area, really skipping any paper-based training, any PowerPoint slides printed, any binders, all of that, totally gone with COVID-19, the latest. They are really digitalizing their learning here across multiple countries and also their global workforce. Also, Sydney Water here is an example where they took the approach to be ready actually with the enablement and make the people successful when they started with the go live of the software. So at the point of go live, all people were enabled and were productive right away. To sum it up, before we open up for comments and questions, here in a wrap up, we talked about the business realization, we talked about the working reality, making the intelligent enterprise a working reality, because a company operates more than just business processes. Companies operate in a country as well as globally, and they also have to take care of the people, the employees, the users working with the software. Here we talked also about adoption being a key lever for companies to realize value out of their investments into software and technology. We talked about localization and globalization, which is really helping customers to adhere to local mandates, provides them with a peace of mind, but also allowing them to operate seamlessly across borders, across countries on a local and global level. We're talking about the employees, the users, to be successful here in the intelligent enterprise. When they are enabled, they are more satisfied and more productive. We talked about that. And we have seen some examples out of sports and entertainment, which are obviously addressing customer demands in that area, but also now moving towards a little bit of adjacent markets with the vaccinations for COVID-19 and thinking along those use cases as well. With that, I would wrap up the call, and now looking forward to your questions, comments, and the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eva. Thanks for the insights and the overview. We don't yet have any questions in the QA, but there was one participant who raised his hand earlier. If you want to speak up, I can unmute you and you can ask your question directly to Eva, because we have 15 more minutes and this is your chance to ask questions directly, because Eva, she spent her time with us with the SAP community today, which is brilliant, and we should use the time we have to get questions answered. Also with the slide deck, so if there's any information that you want to reread going forward, you can of course do so. It will also be listed on our SAP Community Call page. And there's also listed our future SAP Community Calls in case you're interested in what we also have available to you in the next couple of days. There is one question in the chat now. It's about the SAP Learning Hub, Eva, and how does the SAP Learning Hub fit into the enterprise adoption?
Well, it fits very well because we are talking complementary learning experiences. On the one hand side, we are talking the SAP user and the SAP or the employee of a company, where you can create, and we talked about this material, provide this in the context of work, so within the application, but also create material for people working in a store to enable them to cope with COVID-19 and regulations there when meeting clients. The Learning Hub is a platform which is targeted for the professional user. So this is targeted for the consultant who is implementing SAP software, for the customer who is implementing SAP software, for the administrator who is running SAP operations at the customer side. So this is actually complementing the story I just outlined, and the Learning Hub is really along, you possibly know that the Learning Hub here also with the learning journeys where you can start on a, let's say, overview level, then getting a little bit of deeper knowledge, then having a stay current offering where you get just the Delta learning requirements, you can get certified out of the Learning Hub. So it's a support of the SAP professional, so to speak. So the person who's implementing software at the SAP customer side, being the customer himself, or SAP partner. There's also a Learning Hub edition for partners since last year, and on the other side, the administrator. So it's actually goals together are then addressing everybody, the SAP user, the employee, the employee in a sense also of a consultant and professional user, so to speak. Hope this answers your question.
I think it does. If not, we can clarify because we still have time. But I had a question as well. While you were presenting, you mentioned that we use event ticketing, our SAP event ticketing now for the vaccination. Do we know that, or if our customers are also using that for like in the arenas? And can you share a little bit more on that? Because I think that this is such a current case where it's brilliant that we can adopt quickly the products that we have that we usually use for like concerts and all the soccer games, and now we have that situation where we can use it in a way that we all benefit from.
Yeah, Lena, thanks for the question. I really would like to also say with the event ticketing, we normally, as you rightly said, we're using this for concerts wherever you can buy tickets. And there are some cool features also inside software where you, for example, can also invite your friends for a concert. You can also choose where you are seating and all of that. Obviously, with all the COVID regulations, when this whole COVID-19 pandemic started, we were in distancing, so we also had to optimize the space to allow for distance. And then we, in many countries, had a lockdown. We could not even go into a concert. Now, as this is picking up, we are again bringing the software to the attention of the customers that they can now, whatever regulations are with distance here, with number of people limited in a stadium or in a concert hall, that they can use that for a concert. On the vaccination, very clearly, we have customers using that, but also we here at SAP were thinking how to effectively really manage this whole vaccination appointment area. And we had here a pilot and now using this in productive way, so to speak, to offer employees and their families vaccination appointments. And when you know that there is in certain countries, especially here in Germany, there was a little bit of a shortage of the vaccination. So there was more than demand and then supply of the vaccination. And we have seen, so also very proud of the team that they managed the performance of the system, because many colleagues were then, well, power users, so to speak. They were logging in at the same time with their mobile phone, their tablet, and also their PC, the computer. And try to kind of come true to get here a vaccination appointment in the first place. So we're also proud that the software was stable and we managed the really heavy workloads here from colleagues. Now the situation is a little bit more relaxed with regards of the availability of vaccination. So people, we are also expanding to cover family members here, and are really very proud of using this here and also at SAP. And as well, this also companies, customer companies are taking advantage of this as well.
Brilliant. Pretty cool. There was another question in the meantime that came in, Eva. Namely, it's about our the tools. So what kind of tools or materials can the customers, SAP Centers of Excellence, use from SAP Enterprise Adoption?
Yeah, so what are the tools? Actually, there is, when we think it through, so we talked about sports and entertainment, you have seen the products that customers can obviously use wherever customers are. So this is not only a concert, but also museum or sports, managing sports teams. Then on the enablement, obviously there is the Learning Hub for the SAP Professional. There is Enable Now for the user to create and deploy learning material, enablement material. On the globalization side, there is obviously the localization is implemented as part of the SAP software. So it's a software version localized for a country. But what customers can use is, to name some products, document and reporting compliance to exchange with the government. So do the whole, let's say, in invoicing regulations in exchange with the government. So this document and reporting compliance. Then there is also when there are partners who want to extend and a little bit configure and adopt a user interface or adopt requirements for a country, they can also use here some extensibility capabilities we provide for partners. And there are also solutions with regards to the integration where, for example, customers, I talked about social media, and here we have WeChat specifically and TikTok, where customers can use at least for Concur and, for example, for SuccessFactors. So they are applying, so to speak, with a mobile phone to a posting they see in a company. So there are many tools to use for customers, and not only the SAP software localized and translated, but also the tools here. I want to also mention here the translation hub, which is nicely integrated with Enable Now, where out of the document as such, you can, with the integration provided, you have seen the screenshot before, the language of choice. For example, you want to translate into French, then you can do that on the fly and also offline. So this is there are many possibilities here, and we are supporting more than 40 languages here.
I was just about to ask, it was 40 languages, right? That got
yes, and with the translation hub, yes, 40 languages. It's also mentioned here.
Wow.
in the PowerPoint. But yeah, you know, customers are everywhere, and they are interested in having their users being successful. And success means also that I can immediately understand in my language where I'm operating, I'm speaking, that I can learn material or have learning material provided in language of choice, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I hope that answered your question. It was asked anonymously, that's why I cannot address you directly. I have another question. Is there a customer trial version available for SAP now?
Yes, there is, and you can also take the web assistant, where you can also already look at the documents and create a little bit. So there is something to experiment. Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Maybe we can share the link in the community.
Yeah.
Brooke, I just wanted to mention that we can also share so whenever you have questions after the call, you can ask them also in the community yourself. The best tag for your questions would be digital transformation, I would say. You can tag them, and then Eva's team can also follow up on questions in the SAP community directly. Okay. Right, then Tammy already wrote in the chat. Thank you, Eva and Lena, for the great call today. I can totally agree to you, Tammy. Eva, thank you so much for your time today. The recording will be on YouTube in the next couple of days. You can also share it with colleagues, friends, whoever you want to share those brilliant insights with. And with that being said, have a great rest of your day and stay healthy.
Yeah, thanks for having me today, and thanks for your great questions and your interest. So looking forward to another discussion with you here. So all the best to you. Goodbye.
Thanks a lot.